Welcome to Stories of
Are you
Brisco and
going to
Bradshaw.
start this
Shut up,
thing?
Mr. Briscoe. Introducing a legend here,
Sorry.
NWA legend. I am Bradshaw, and this is your Chickasha native, your Chickasha Hall of Famer, Oklahoma's favorite son, Mr. Gerald Briscoe, and we have got the three-time WWE Tag Team Champion, the current NWA Champion, and the former NWA World Heavyweight Champion, Mr. Trevor Murdoch. Trevor, welcome to our show.
Oh, thank you for having me. And how cool that I'm not going to lie, I just marked out for a little bit that I just had JBL give me such a great introduction with all those accolades. So thank you, JBL.
Well, they're all true, and you deserve
I
it.
marked out for a minute here. I'm sorry. I'm still a wrestling fan.
That's all right. You deserve every bit of it. We're glad that you ended up joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
We really are, Trevor. Appreciate that last minute notice and you were able to arrange your schedule where you could come on here. We really appreciate it. The great thing about having you on is we go back to the origination of Trevor Murdoch, both JBL and I both, and we're kind of discussing it beforehand. And tell before we get in real deep in your character development there, tell us your passion of the professional wrestling business. How did it start, and where did it start?
I'll be honest with you guys. My introduction to pro wrestling was WCCW. They used to air World Class in St. Louis. So as a kid, I grew up watching Gentleman Chris Adams, Iceman King Parsons, Devon Ericks. Then you would pop in, you'd see Harley Race pop in every once in a while. All these names that were traveling across the world. So my introduction to pro wrestling was World Class. And every Saturday morning, my older brother would wake me up, and we would be in our underwear sitting in front of the TV just
That's
taking it
what I don't want to say.
Yeah, bro. Well, not now. But what always kept me going back was at the end, Bill Mercer was like, ladies and gentlemen, our TV time is over. Make sure you guys catch next week for the action. And it always drew me back to come watch the next week. And I was addicted to it, guys.
Yeah, well, Bill Mercer.
Right. Bill Mercer, I mean, he had that thing, and they would always go out on a fantastic spot or something like that. Holy shit, all of a sudden, here's Bill Mercer. Tune in next week. I love that. I love that catch, man.
And Bill Mercer was the one that, he just passed away, I think, at 99 years old. He was the one that told Lee Harvey Oswald that he had been charged with murdering the president.
No kidding.
Really?
I
was.
Wow.
He was a reporter. He was down there in the basement. I don't know if it was right when obviously it was within a day or two when he got shot, because he only, lived for a little bit after they arrested him, but I'm not sure what time period it was. But Lee Harvey Oswald asked him, said, did you murder the president? He goes, well, I have not been charged with it. And Bill Mercer had just literally been told by the police department that they charged him with murdering the president. And he said, no, you have been officially charged with murdering the president of the United States of America. And that was the first time that Lee Harvey Oswald knew for sure he had been charged with that.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, Mercer was what a voice he had. Mercer was so good at what he did.
And you could hear it and pinpoint him instantly. You knew exactly who it was.
Exactly.
And did you always want to be a wrestler? So you're growing up like so many guys and girls we've had on. When you're watching wrestling as a youth, like I did, and like Jerry did. That was my goal. I had other goals, but was that one of your goals to be a wrestler?
No, I wanted to be 100%. I wanted to be a wrestler. The issue was like I had no idea how. There weren't the schools. There weren't the 100,000 schools that are out there now. There weren't. The only thing that was available at the time was the power plant, and I had heard so many horror stories about the power plant that I just wow, I don't know if I could actually handle that. Until I got lucky enough, my older brother started wrestling. He met a guy at his factory job who was doing independent wrestling. And my brother invited me to come do security, and I happened to be bigger than all the other wrestlers. There's pictures of me walking the wrestlers out, and I'm a foot taller than all of them.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, they would, because I was so big, they would just use me as their tackling dummy for all their new moves and their spots and stuff, until a wrestler didn't show up one day. And you guys know the gimmick, promoters looking around. Oh, well, you've been training, kid. You're wrestling tonight.
Yeah.
And that's what I did for 2 years. Basically, it was a tackling dummy and just got beat up until I met Harley Race. And I thought I was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And he proceeded to quickly tell me, no, I was not.
Yeah, and
Wait, the first match, what'd you get paid?
I'm pretty sure it's probably $20, close to the hot dog and a handshake in
Yeah, because that's
Arnold,
how promoters were.
Missouri.
They'd find somebody they thought was a warm body and they had a pulse and could get out there, and they'd pay them next to nothing, you know.
Threw me under a hood, and I just was a tackling dummy. But from then on, I never did security. I was a wrestler, quote unquote. I thought I was a wrestler. Again, until I met Harley, and he taught me what it was like to be a real wrestler.
So growing, were you in high school sports? Did you pursue those?
I played football. I kind of had a tough childhood. I grew up in the foster care system, so I kind of bounced from family to family. As soon as I had as soon as I started not liking where I was living at, just being a young man trying to find his own way, I'd start fights. And as soon as I'd get into a fight, I'd get moved to the next foster home. So I really didn't get an opportunity to focus on sports like I wanted to because I was constantly moving.
You mentioned your brother. You guys were fortunate enough to stay together through the foster care?
He was older than me, so he was 10 years older than me. So by the time that situation came into my life, he was already out on his own with his own family. It was, it's a tough deal, especially as a parent. I know how difficult it is to raise a family. And my parents clearly had issues and couldn't stay together. And it is what it is, gentlemen. Actually, going through all that made me I feel like made me a tougher person.
Well, you mentioned Harley Race. What kind of take us back to that moment? How did you meet the great Harley Race, and what was your reaction? And wow, I would like to shake hands with Harley Race.
You guys might pop for this story. Harley had started a company called World Legion Wrestling before he started World League, and I got to come in and wrestle. We were in the Motel 6, and I got called downstairs that Harley wants to see all the extra talent. So we're all standing up against this wall, shoulder to shoulder, bunch of young guys just waiting for our opportunity. And Harley and Gordon Soley walked by with Gordon's got the fifth of vodka in his hand, and Harley's got the yellow notebook pad. And they both sit down, and they're writing out the card for the next day. And it comes to a spot where Greg the Hammer Valentine is supposed to work a jobber. And Harley looks up and down the line, and he pinpoints right on me, and he goes, "Do you have a license?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I do." And he said, "Tomorrow you're wrestling Greg the Hammer Valentine. Is that okay?" Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Came to the show. Greg was very gracious, was going to give me a couple spots in the match, young guy firing up, We got up to the gorilla, and we're going over the match, and Harley's right there, and he's hearing every single thing we're talking about. And at the end of us talking, Harley goes up to Greg, and he goes, "The kid doesn't get shit." And Greg looked at me, and he goes, "Did you hear the man?" I said, "Yes, sir." Went out there, and I proceeded to get my ass handed to me for 5.5 minutes. I'm talking on my knees. Greg pulled my chin back, forearms across the chest. And as a young man, I loved every bit of it. I came into the back. Oh my God. I just got beat up by Greg the Hammer Valentine.
Yeah, what's getting beat up by Greg the Hammer Valentine is actually getting beat up.
Oh yeah, no, sir.
It's actually you're actually getting beat up.
You would get arrested in most cases.
Yeah. I wrestled him in some supposed to be competitive matches, and I got beat up in those.
If you got beat up, that was an ass whooping for sure.
And the worst was when his dad, Johnny Valentine, would show up, and then Greg would turn into like Tank Abbott. Like, dude, I'm sorry your dad's here, but you don't have to impress him with me. Please get off me.
It's a work.
That's right. So from that point forward, did you start working with Harley? Did that night help spark the relationship?
For sure, 100%. I had a talk with Harley later on that evening, and he goes, I'm opening up a wrestling school. Would you be interested?" Well, yes, sir. And I was his first student at his wrestling school.
Awesome.
Yes. So, which is it's a great honor to have, but also I was the guinea pig for all of his training. So for the first 3 months, gentlemen, and I'm not exaggerating at all, I puked every single day. It was almost like
loved it.
It was here's what got me over, I think, with him. A lot of guys, when they would get sick or get to that point where they're just dragging ass, they would come up with 100,000 excuses. Harley, I'm tired, I'm hurt, and this, that, I didn't get that. I would go outside, puke, run and get the bucket, fill it up with water, splash it on the puke in the road, and then come running back in and try to catch up with everybody else.
Wow.
And he would just laugh, and he would. I will never forget the sense in the school because he would smoke a cigarette. He would get to talking, put the cigarette in the ashtray, continue to talk, forget about the cigarette in the ashtray, relight another one, and you'd have this whole training facility filled with smoke, all while we're trying to do squats and push-ups. And who's going to say anything to Harley Race about cigarette smoke while they're sucking wind doing calisthenics? No one.
Exactly. Whatever great story that is, I tell you a little story here. Can you imagine Harley Race and Jack Brisco, who were two notorious chain smokers, sitting there laying out an hour match? Both of them would do the same thing. There'd be 2 packs of unlit cigarette, or not unlit, but just one puff of cigarettes laying around the floor there. And they would both go through probably 2 packs apiece there. And they go out and do an hour Broadway and do it better than anybody in the history that ever did it.
That's what makes those guys special.
And not take a deep breath about it.
Yeah, no. There's just no way I could physically do that at all. Smoking cigarettes, do a 10-minute match, let alone an hour-long match.
Yeah, and the thing was, like back in the day, like now, if you're in a dressing room and somebody's smoking, you're like, what are you doing? And it just strikes you the wrong way. You walk in a store, something smells smoke, like, dude, you're breaking the law. But what do you do when it's Jack Brisco and Harley Race? Like,
you suck it up and don't say a word.
Guys, I may smoke with you.
It got so bad, they named the Jack Brisco workout. You smoke a pack of Marlboros, go do 5 jumping jacks, and go out and do an hour Broadway and steal the show. But what's something I find very interesting here, Harley caught on to you after your match with Greg Bowden. What kind of training did you have? Any in-ring training when you had to go up against Greg?
I was running on the independent scene for about 2 years, but there's only 2 things I could do really well. I could bump really well, and I could sell really well. Other than that, I had no clue. I thought I was great until I had a match. I showed Harley about 2 weeks after I started training because I wanted him to understand that I was really good. And he watched this match with me, and he didn't say a word. He was very respectful. He watched it, and I'm waiting for this great kid. I'm waiting for the pat on the back. Yeah. And he looked at me and he goes, I'm going to say this again. You are the shits. And it was what I needed. The honesty. We are in a business of guys that are constantly patting each other. Oh, great job. You did a great job. You're doing really well. I've never gotten better because someone patted me on the back and said, I did a great job. I welcome criticism because that's the only way I'm going to get better at what I do. And Harley don't get me wrong, he would pat me on the back, but I would have to really earn it. It really meant something when he gave you a good job, kid.
So you go from just trying to learn basically on your own by monkey see monkey do type organization to being in a camp with a great mind like Harley Race Training. That what a step up there, and then you really learned the value. The great thing about Harley was not only his physical attributes, but his psychology in the ring, and being able to bleed that out of Harley. It had to be just a fantastic setup for you.
No, I loved it. We would constantly do different types of matches in front of him just so we could get his opinion on how to tell this. Harley, this is what I want to say. And this is what I want the people to feel at the end of this match. How do I do that? And he would just break down a match for you. I don't know how to explain it, but he would just be able to break down a match where you almost would hear him talk about it and go, that makes complete sense. How can I explain it? Harley was all about, number one, even as tough as he was in the ring, he was about making his opponent look like $1 million too.
Yeah, that was a Harley Race attribute.
And you would watch Harley put other guys over. Let's just say the simple whip to the corner, and he would do that handstand flip over. He took a simple move and made it into a simple movement and made it in. And yes, sir. And he explained to us in there that how important it was to make your opponent look good, but also keep yourself strong as well too, and make yourself look like a strong opponent. That way, at the very least, whoever wins, they beat somebody. It meant something. It wasn't a throwaway, just two guys doing a bunch of nothing. It meant something.
Yeah, the thing I always respect about Harley, and the thing I always told the people, Harley was one of those guys that go in the ring, and each move that he would do is like a textbook, like an illustration in a textbook, because it was so picturesque and it was just so right on time and everything. Just the simple thing he used to do, just taking that leg, bringing it up, and bringing it back, doing the knee drop across his knee there. It just when you see Harley come off the top rope into a headbutt, it's perfect form. I mean, everything about it is just perfect form. Everything he did was like you're looking at it in pictures. What a bad look at that. But he did it so smooth. Sometimes you didn't realize the talent that he had doing those. Right?
Oh, 100%. You don't know how good he is until you actually watch it firsthand and watch how he takes. He used to he never talked bad about anybody in the business, but there was a guy named, and I'm sure you remember Mr. Brisco. Is it Nick Gula? Nick, I can't pronounce it. Nick Gulas. Yes.
Yeah.
That's
who I didn't know, but that's the one guy that everybody. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But
no,
that's
not at all.
Dutch Mantel for the last 2 months has been podcast after podcast about how bad Nick Gulas was.
Harley brought that up, and he would go, I had to go an hour with this piece of shit. But to him, granted, he was aggravated, but the fact I was like, how did it go? He goes, I got him over. And he was able to go out there and take a guy that everybody knew was not the greatest wrestler out of respect and go out there and make him look like he could beat Harley. Like the toughest guy. That to me, that was Harley's biggest trick in the business. Because he's legitimate.
That was a champion's job, yeah.
Legitimately, the toughest guy in the business could go out there and make a guy like me look like I could beat him.
Yeah, that kid's name was George Gulas, not Nick.
George Gulas, yes, sir. Nick was the dad.
Nick was the dad. Yeah.
So imagine being those NWA champions back in those days. I mean, you're supposed to go in and work with the best guy in the territory, but then you got a promoter who thinks his son's the best guy in the territory. But those guys, those champions back in those days, man, they never knew what they were getting into until they stepped in the ring with somebody. Some of them were just local guys that, that promoter liked or something like that, would throw you in there against a world champion. And those guys, and the world champions like Jack and Harley and Dory and Terry and those groups, they would have to make that guy look good, so he could come back the following week. And what a job that had to be on those guys in the string.
Well, it's a testament to what kind of wrestlers they were. That to me, that's more impressive than the King of the Ring stuff or the NWA World. Don't get me wrong. I am so proud that Harley Race is the 8-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion. But his skill level and being able to take a broomstick and make it look like a real opponent, that's what always impressed me.
Yeah, and you don't know what the skill set of that broomstick is when you're there. They didn't have YouTube. They didn't have videos. They didn't watch other wrestlers. They were wrestling every night. So when they get there, they would literally ask them, because I've seen these old guys ask them, what can you do? And they would tell you that's the only research they'd be able to do. And then you got to go an hour with this person. I mean, that's those guys were different level. Those guys,
yes, sir.
Like Jack and Harley and Dory that had to tour so much and do all that. Those guys were different level.
Yes, sir.
You talk about how hard the training was. Was there a lot of like squats and because I broke in that way too. I just thought it was so stupid doing squats for 2 hours. Like I've never done it in my life.
He had about a 45-minute regimen of calisthenics, and that's talking push-ups, up, down, squats, mountain climbers, and you would do that before you even got into the ring. And then after that, you would go into 2-3-minute amateur wrestling drills. And what you would do is it wasn't about pinning anybody. If I was on top, I had to hold on to my guy. If my guy was on bottom, he had to get away from me. So for 3 minutes, if I'm on bottom, I'm doing everything I can to get this guy off of me. And after 3 minutes, you switch roles. So 6 minutes of hard amateur wrestling, just locking onto a guy, and then Harley be like, "Okay, let's train," and you're just dragging ass, and you're questioning, why is he having me do this? I'm gonna hurt myself. I'm not at my best. But obviously, as I got a little older, I realized that when you're in the ring, you're gonna be tired. There's gonna be nights that you may be in the best shape of your life, and you feel like someone, you're just dragging ass. You've got to go out there and be the same guy on that day as you would on your best day. So the way Harley was looking at it is, I'm going to get these guys dog ass tired. I'm talking dragging ass. And then I'm going to make them work. And I'm going to make them work and work and work. And we would have match after match after match. And then if we started getting lazy, Harley would disappear. And we thought, oh, well, here's a break for us. Let's grab a hold for a couple minutes, just get a wind about us. What we didn't know is he was going to get a stun gun out of his office, and he would just quietly, have it in his pocket, and he'd lean up against the ring, and you're like, okay, Harley's really watching, And what I didn't know was he would tell my opponent, small package. And, small package, you boys know, your ass cracks right in the air, and everything that God made you in the splits right there. Harley, take that taser and put it right between your butt crack and let that thing go. You got a fellow who's got you in a small package, Harley stunning you, and you'd roll out of it, and you'd look over, and Harley go, keep pushing. And that was just his way of going, okay, kid, come on.
That's at least a heavy misdemeanor, maybe a felony, to use a stun gun to stun his balls.
No good.
Well, the fun part was when he was doing it to everybody else.
Yeah, right.
Well,
but that was his way of training.
Were there any other guys that went on to big leagues?
We had a couple second generation guys. Teddy DiBiase went through there. Joe Henning went through there. We had a guy named Ace Steele that didn't actually make it, but went through the OVW system and now is running a school in Florida. I'm the only guy out of all of Harley's guys that was able to make it to WWE and be successful.
Wow.
Yeah, and how did he run classes for a certain length? So did he run, like, say, hey, we're going to do a 3-month class, or was just kind of an ongoing class, and he meshed experienced guys with more inexperienced guys?
He tried to stick within a 6-month program. If guys were wanting to nail down, like, am I going to be a wrestler in 6 months? He would put them in a 6-month program. A lot of times, like guys like me, I came for the duration. Like, I was not there for a time period. I moved to Eldon, where the school was. I was there every day. Like, if I would get off work, go to the school. And now we're talking, I did this for 7 years, every day. We would get a couple guys that would complain about training was too hard, because when Harley was at that school, we were at that school. So if he was there on Monday, we were there Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we were there. Usually, if we weren't wrestling for Harley on the weekend, we'd be wrestling for somebody else. And if we weren't wrestling for somebody else, if Harley was at the school, we were at the school, in that ring, just running matches, just having, hey, I saw this. I saw JBL and Eddie Guerrero do this spot. Let's try this. And we would try to make it work for us. Not, we would do the spot with you, but then we'd try to make it work for us and our characters and how we could do it on a Harley show. Guys, we understood guys that complained about, I need to be here only 6 months. We kind of brushed those guys off because we didn't feel like you were here for it. I'm here to be a world champion somewhere, someplace, and ultimately we wanted to be in WWE. So in my mind,
that guy smoking a cigarette over in the corner could get you to where you want to be.
That's right. And I just did what Harley told me. And he always told me, he said, Trevor, he goes, you're like, the world of pro wrestling isn't fair. You just need to just realize that now. But the cream will rise to the top. The best wrestler will get his payoff. You just have to be that wrestler and continue to stay consistent. Consistency.
Did Harley have any other trainers that worked with him?
Here's Harley's Harley's philosophy was he would pick out a guy that he could see a future in. Like my first trainer, physical trainer, was a guy named Derek Stone. Harley was out there the whole time, but Derek was the one in the ring doing the physical end of it, and Harley's telling him what to do. What I got lucky enough in that first couple of years, Harley was still mobile enough to do suplexes and punches,
Really?
and oh yeah, drop a knee. He would drop a knee every once in a while in the ring. I made the mistake of complaining about doing some amateur wrestling, and Harley goes, "Well, I'll get in there with you." And of course,
Yeah.
I'm giddy. I'm like, "Oh, come on, Harley! I've been doing this for the last year and a half. I am there. You cannot blow me up. I'm gonna latch on you like a spider monkey." And I got on top and I was moving around and I'm just playing with him and I got my legs around his waist and I said, "I got you, Harley." I was like, "This is my strongest body parts, my legs." And you guys know where I'm going with this. I had my legs crossed in front of him
Yeah.
and he's reaching back and I'm not paying any attention. So I'm trying to swipe his arm. But while he's doing that, he's taking his other arm and grabbing his leg and putting one on my ankle. And then he switched arms again and he took his other leg and put his other ankle on his other ankle. And then he put his arms down. And I'm just being a smart ass. I got you. I have no idea what's about to happen to me. And Harley goes, "Hold on a minute." And he just leaned back and took my ankles and just bent them down. And I started screaming, "Harley, Harley, you're killing me. Harley, you're breaking it." "What's my name?" "Harley Race, Harley Race. You're the king. You're the king. Yes, sir. Yes, sir." And he let me go. And I rolled out of there and I just shook my head and I said, "I should have known better. I
Should have known better.
just should have known better."
But you got to try. You got to try.
Well, and who doesn't want to wrestle Harley Race?
Oh yeah, you got a story out of it.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
You
And
yeah,
even
you
though
won.
I-
You won. You
Yeah.
won. That's you got the Harley Race story. That's cool.
And on that note, there it leads into a question I was going to ask you. Is there a moment when you're training with Hardy that he just totally intimidated you and it scared you to death where you wanted to run to the back and hide?
I don't particularly have any one moment. And the reason was because
did you see it in those moments with other guys?
of course, no. Harley's big on respect, and when he's talking, you shouldn't be. And a lot of guys, when Harley would go to give them advice, he would get this but, and this guy would try to explain himself to Harley. And you would see Harley go quiet for a second while he's letting this guy know, like let this guy talk. And then Harley would calmly explain to him, "Listen, this is why." And the guy would argue and he'd go, and pardon my language, "Fuck it. Fuck it, kid." And just walk away. And I'd look at the guy and go, "You're not coming back." Like that, because Harley would make his cards 2 months in advance. You could go into his office and he'd have this yellow notepad and it would have the card for the next show. And you would go in and I loved going in and just asking him why he was doing what he was doing. I would go in and be a mark and go, "Who am I wrestling? Why am I wrestling him?" Okay. Once I figured that out, I go, "Well, why do you have Grizz, who's his world champion, wrestling Luminous Warrior?" And Harley would explain to me, "I need to give Grizz a good win as a champion, and he's a big enough guy to get that over." And I would start understanding the psychology of why he is putting his show together and how he was building his champion. So then when I would go other places like WWE, it was very easy for me to realize and kind of pinpoint what was going on because I could see, I already had the idea of, okay, well, that's the progression right there. That's how you do that.
Yeah, that's really cool. Not everybody did that. A lot of promoters, well, they wouldn't tell you nothing, and a lot of old guys wouldn't tell you nothing. Jimmy Crockett was like that to me when he tried to open up Texas. He would give me the open up the kimono and show me everything about booking and how he was booking, why he was booking, and it helped. It just the same way. It helped me a lot later in life because I understood so much better about why people were doing things when you hear it from a guy who's got a great mind.
Well, and it also helps you kind of lay out a pattern of, okay, well, this is what needs to happen. I need to put myself in these positions so I can execute this goal.
Exactly.
Did you ever see the toughness ever on display? Mr. Brisco kind of mentioned it. Anybody got to kind of get crosswise with it, but the toughness on display of Harley?
There was one guy, there was a promoter in the Missouri area, a big guy, 6'9", 350 pounds. very intimidating, used that to promote and his other wrestlers. And we were coming into the same, Harley's company was coming into the same town where this guy was running. So for about 4 weeks, Harley's getting these little chirps from this guy. I'm going to kick his ass when I see Harley Race. He ain't shit. We go to do the show, and all of us young guys, we find the guy. He's at the show. He came to the show. We were like, this guy's an idiot. He's in the back row, and of course, one of the boys go, "Hey, Harley, Ben's here," and Harley pops right up. "Where is he?" We all point to him, and of course, the locker room door is just filled with guys' heads just wanting to see what's about to happen. And Harley walks up to this guy, and you guys know the paw that Harley had, and he just right here on his trap, grabbed that guy. Grabbed real hard, and old boy popped up to turn around and draw back, and he saw it was Harley, and he goes, "Mr. Race, how are you, sir?" And he just went total young boy Mark. "Oh, Mr. Race," and you could hear Harley. "I hear you're gonna kick my fucking ass." "No, sir, I would never." And Harley just giving him the riot act and giving this guy every opportunity to execute what he was saying previously. "No, sir, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, sir, no, sir." That was one of those moments we all just as young men laughed and just like, what a bitch.
Right.
Don't run your mouth about the man, and then when he's face to face with you, not say something. But here's the thing with Harley, though. He would have never had to do any of that. He had a group of young men, myself included, that would. I was joking about it the other day. We would go to let's say we would go to a town to wrestle, and we would go to do an autograph signing. It was never talked about, but Harley and his wife BJ would walk forward, and all of us guys would be 2 steps behind him. Nobody ever walked up next to Harley. Nobody ever walked in front of Harley. So we were just talking about like the image of that man, and we all went in his pace. Harley wasn't a fast walker. So he's got 12 or 13 guys that muscled up that are, following him behind going, "Yes, sir, no, sir." So if any time there was anybody that would raise a voice to him, or we thought that there was any type of issues with Harley, he had 12 or 13 guys that was willing to take that bullet at any time and eat their lunch to let them know that that's Harley Race and ain't nobody going to treat him that way.
Was Harley doing anything at that time other than the school? I mean, he wasn't working or anything. And back
No.
At that point, they didn't have appearances like they have now with autograph signings and stuff.
He had at that time WCW was still running, and so he was bouncing kind of back and forth to whatever company needed him to do the autograph signing. But work wise, he wasn't doing anything. He couldn't. His back was. It was done. He was taking cortisone shots once every 4 months, and to the point where that stopped working, and that started affecting his legs, and he got drop leg. So now he's not only dealing with back issues, now he's trying to deal with keeping his balance on a leg that he can't feel. So but he never. Here's the thing with Harley, like he never sold it. He never complained. You never heard, you might hear "my back's bothering me," but that's it. Like there's no, I got to do this, or there's no complaining. He was just a stud.
Yeah.
And like if just to be with him and be around him made you want to be that man.
Right.
And there was few people in the world that could have that effect.
Yeah, Harley was so like that. I remember, him as a champion. And you knew, I knew just watching Jack, there was always something wrong with you because you're working with a lot of guys that are inexperienced and don't have the talent level. But, as an opponent, you will walk at Harley and knowing that he's hurting somewhere. And Harley, is there anything you want to stay away from? Nope. Let's just go out and have our usual match and everything will be fine. He never sold nothing in the ring. I mean, what I said, he sold his opponent. But he never sold an injury where he told you to stay away from something. That was the type of man Harley was. Just a tremendous tough guy.
That's the man I want to be.
And Skandar Akbar always told me when I broke in, in Dallas, and Skandar was a big influence for me. He loved Harley. They were good friends. I guess from St. Louis is where they were together. And he always said Harley Race was the only guy tough enough to bump and kill. And I told Harley that one day. He goes, "Well, look at me." And I go, "Yeah,
Yeah.
but you're the legend. I don't care what you're in. You're having
You're
a
the
hard time
man.
getting around, but
John Harley would be the only guy you ever worked with in Kill Auditorium at 20-foot hard ass boxing, steel boxing ring. That we call a backdrop. You go
oh,
back and you look at footage, and there wasn't a lot of backdrops
that's what
going
Akbar
on.
just would rave about Harley Race at the
Yeah,
kill. This was a kill.
yeah.
He's the only guy tough enough to bump in the kill.
And you go up on that top turnbuckle, suplex me, Hardy. You sure suplex me, damn it.
Well, I couldn't even just that or the headbutt off
Yeah,
that, like
yeah.
the coming off onto your chest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, was he running a lot of shows during that time?
We were, as an independent, we were running an average of 78 shows a year. We
Really?
were running 3 days on the weekends. He did a couple 4 or 5 day shots. And if he was very adamant about keeping us working and keeping, World League Wrestling out there. So we would do those shots and then we would because Harley would book 3 months in advance. We would take the booking dates from Harley and what we didn't have filled, we would try to fill with other independent companies. So for World League Wrestling, my first 5 years, I was running an average of 100 and 120 matches a year.
Wow.
And for an independent guy, that's a lot of
That's a lot.
wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of wrestling. You see a lot of these guys now. You're getting more now because there's so much independent out there. But you'd see guys. It's crazy. I say, how long you been working? Oh, a couple years. I've had 20 matches. And
What? What?
right.
See, that's an attribute of Harley too, and just the confidence that Harley had. He wanted you to work those other independent shows. He wanted you to see how the other thing, because that's how you get stuck in a bind. A lot of these guys where they're working with the same guys over and over, and it becomes mechanics in it. It doesn't become working. Harley wanted you out working with Joe Blow. He wanted you out working with Bill Bob or whoever it was.
Well, and the other cool thing is when we'd go to other independents, we were kind of like Cobra Kai. We would walk into the building and everybody would be like, "Oh, those are Harley guys. Those are Harley guys. They can work. They can work." And that was the greatest stamp that we could ever have was if somebody said, "Oh, that's a Harley guy," they automatically knew, "Oh, they can work." There was no question. Didn't matter about the size, look. Oh, that's a Harley guy. He can work.
Yeah,
He
and that's
wouldn't be
how it
out.
was. That's how it's been for so long, and it may still be that way today. I have no idea because I don't not in those circles anymore. But you back in the day, if you got trained by Hero or you got trained by Brad Ryangens or Gotch or Robinson or any of these guys, you automatically got jobs because people knew where you were trained was your calling card, and it was hard if you weren't trained by somebody that people didn't know.
Well, and part of that is what helped me get my job with WWE was the fact that I got to do 8 or 9 different tryouts. You guys have seen the locals that came in. They run into Missouri. There's a whole different batch of locals. I had been up there maybe 8 or 9 different times doing different things. I unchained Kane when he used to come out of the ambulance and stuff like that. But I had just gotten back from the dojo. I'd spent 6 months in the Noah dojo doing 500 squats a day, 300 push-ups a day, 100, 150
Are
bumps
you
a
in
day.
glutton for punishment?
I wanted to be
then you go to Harley, then you go to Japan.
I wanted to do it the hard. Hey, listen, if you're going to get a reputation of Harley, you got to kind of go through the steps that he went through. And when I got the opportunity to go, I was like, yeah, let's do this. And no, don't get me wrong, John, it was hell. Like for the first 3 weeks.
I know it was. I've been in Japan many, many times, and I'd see how they train those guys. It's subhuman.
Oh, you're 100. But when I came back, there wasn't anybody that could touch me.
Wow.
And literally, I was home for maybe 4 weeks, and Harley got me a tryout with WWE, and I was like, all right, $250 catering. They're going to ignore me like before. I've already spent 6 months in Japan. That's where my career is. I don't have to have a 6-pack and get over in Japan. I just have to work hard, and I'll get over in Japan. Well,
so
I go out.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, at what point was it where Hardy kind of said, "Okay, Trevor, it's time for you to get out and go"? Do you remember that incident? And
There was never like a hey, it's time for you to start spreading your wings. He was constantly putting us in situations for opportunities. He brought over Masawa and Vader from Noah, and they sat in our school while we ran shows. And we're wrestling in front of Vader and Masawa, greenhorns, just because Misawa was going to start bringing Gaijin over to Noah. That's when he separated away from, I believe, All Japan or New
Yeah.
Japan.
He was in all.
And he,
I was in all Japan with Masawa. Yeah.
okay, but when he split off and he started Noah, Misawa wanted to bring over Gaijin, so he came to Harley, came to our school, and him and Vader sat there while we started running matches in our gimmick and in our character and our stuff, so we could start coming over. Um, it was constantly Harley putting us in front of somebody. I got to wrestle in front of Jim Barnett,
Wow.
wrestling Ron and Don Harris.
That's cool.
That's, and the only reason why, what we were told,
Hey,
the only reason why
what did Barnett say?
he
Did
said,
he say anything or do anything? Or...
no, he came, he didn't talk to us. He, introduced himself and was nice and respectful, but he never gave us his opinion. He gave it to Harley, and Harley gave it to us. And now you got to imagine this is Harley Race trying to do a Jim Barnett impression.
My boy.
And he goes, boys, Jim said, you just look too young. You're just too young, boys. And I don't know how to fix that, Harley. He goes, there's nothing you can do, kid. Just keep doing what you're doing.
That's awesome. I trained up in Minnesota, so very similar. You'd have Frank Anderson come by, who was a world champion, out of Sweden. You'd have all these guys come in, the Road Warriors would come in. You'd have all these guys come in, and you're like, wow, this is cool. At some point, when you've been through hell like that, and you guys have done it. When you've been through hell like that, nothing bothers you anymore. I mean, literally, they're like, "We're going to do this." Okay, I'm going to live. You're not going to kill me. I found out that I'm not going to die. And then when you meet all these celebrities, all of a sudden it takes the edge off the wrestling business. That's a background that you can't replicate.
No, and I was very lucky to have it. And my son is 19, talking about wanting to get into the business. And I'm sitting here in my head, well, you got to go to the dojo. We've got to find you a trainer that whoops your ass. Like he has these certain requirements that I expect him to have. And I'm sitting here thinking there's nobody out there that
Right.
will do that. Like it'll never happen again that way.
No, I don't
So,
think Mr. Brisco got in trouble because he goes, "You guys are hitting the ropes like a bunch of," and he called him a name. And they go, "You can't say that." He's like, what? What? They are. That's what they're.
Business of thick skin. You boys need to build up and have a thick skin. I mean, if you're worried about that, wait till you get on the internet.
Right. Hey, what did you before we go on to WWE, which I want to go to, but the dojo in Japan, you lived over there 6 months?
6 months. Yeah, I got invited to come over for a 3 month stay. And a week before I was supposed to come home, they were like, "Hey, listen, would you be interested in coming back another 3 months?" And I was, yeah, let's go. Like I wanted to be on every show. Again, WWE, you guys know the system, and I could not get anybody's attention. And I kind of understand looking the way I did, especially to everybody they had up there. I couldn't get anybody's attention, even to go to OVW. But again, Japan was open. They were willing to work with me. They made me feel like I want you here, Trevor. And I wanted to be there. Not to mention, you guys know in the business, like if you can handle the dojo, there's a toughness about you that no one can. Guys can say they wrestled here, they wrestled there, they've done this, they've done that. But when you say, I spent 6 months in the dojo, you can't really compete with that shit. Like
you just won the conversation when that happened.
Yes, sir. And I was the only guy out of Harley's group that went back for the other 3 months. There was a couple other guys that went, and now I'm not going to name any names, but they were 3 weeks in calling Harley, physically crying, "Please, Harley, I just come home. I can't do this. I cannot do this." And when I went over there, I was like, there ain't no way. I ain't calling Harley Race. I ain't do it. No, I'm just going to deal with it. I'm going to handle it. And I did. And it benefited me. Because when I got back, I came back for a little tryout, and Chris Benoit is out by the ring doing his 500 squats for the warm-up.
Right.
His warm-up. Yeah. And I'm going, this guy's a maniac, but at least maybe he can give me a rub in Japan. So I go out there in the ring, and I'm still, 6'3". I'm doing the butterfly stretches where my knees are going to the mat. Guys are standing on it. I'm doing the nose bridge, bending back. My nose is touching the mat, and it gets Chris's attention. And he comes over and he asked me, he goes, have you been to Japan? And I just laid it out. I was like, yes, sir. I just spent 6 months in the dojo with Masawa, Kobashi, Marufuji, Kenta. I just laid it all out. And he goes, who trained you? And I said, Harley Race.
Harley.
And we talked for about 5 minutes. He goes, do you have a match tonight? And I said, no, sir. He said, wait right here. And what I come to find out is he went to Johnny Ace and just straight up told Johnny, he's like, that kid needs a match. I think he can work. It'd be in your best interest to take a look at him. Johnny come down, found me. He goes, hey, you got a match tonight. You're going to wrestle Rob Conway. Ricky Steamboat's going to be your agent. And go. So at the time, I was doing Trevor Rhodes. I was the bastard son of Dusty Rhodes. I had the blonde hair. I was lanky like Dustin. And I find Ricky and we're talking. And he goes, Trevor, he goes, maybe you should be Murdoch. And I said, okay, I'll be. He goes, Dusty's got a lot of heat right now with Vince. And if you want to,
Dusty came and went.
Yes.
The most loved guy in the world, and sometimes Dusty was in the outhouse.
At the time, he was in the outhouse, and Ricky was trying to help me get an opportunity. And he goes, don't put one strike against you by having the Rhodes name. You look more like Dickie Murdoch anyway. So I don't give a shit what you call me. I just need an opportunity, boss. Went out there and I wrestled Rob Conway. Again, I knew what my job was, not to get me over, to get him over, to make him look like $1 million. So I bumped, fed, and sold right into everything. Had a great match. Come in the back. Johnny's like, hey, listen, we're going to bring you to SmackDown tomorrow and have you wrestle again. I wrestled Rene Dupree the next night. And Johnny told him, hey, listen, Rene, we're going to go 50-50 with Trevor. I want to see some offense. And had a great match with Rene. Coming to the back. And Johnny called me into the office and offered me a developmental deal that night.
Wow.
I called Harley. It's like 11 o'clock at night and he's sleeping. You know, I know he's sleeping, but he's not going to be mad about this. And I call him and I go, Harley, I got a job. And me not thinking, him sleeping, he goes, where? And thinking like I'm working at the lumber yard or something.
Yeah.
I go, yeah. I go, no, I got a job with WWE. What? I said, I got offered a job with WWE, a developmental deal. And he goes, okay, don't tell anyone. And I was like, well, Harley, I'm in the van with 8 guys and they already know.
Yeah.
And he put me on speaker. And I put him on speaker and he told all of those guys, don't say a fucking word. And I didn't quite understand what he was doing at that time. But he told them all, and of course everybody's yes sir, no, yes sir, we're not going to say a word. And I get back to the school, and he explains to me, he goes, Trevor, he goes, the reason why I don't want you saying it, you haven't signed shit. Like your name is not on anything, and there is a lot of time between now and when you receive that contract and when they sign it. Something could change, so you're going to go out there and tell the world that you got a job, and they decide to change their mind. You're held with the bag of looking like an idiot. And I was like, yes, sir. You're 100% correct. Yes, sir. And I didn't say a word until he announced it at the show in Eldon, where our school was in our little hometown.
Pretty solid advice.
Well, and that was the thing. Like I would ask Harley why, and he would just be like, "Hold on a minute, you'll see, you'll figure it out, kid." Or there were times where he would just straight up tell me and lay it out for me. He was very open with that. I never was scared to ask him why. The problem is how guys would approach him. Well, why, Harley? You don't come to Harley aggressive. You don't, Harley, I'm trying to understand this. Can you explain this to me? And then he would lay it out for you. Harley was just like, you guys know, he was all about respect. Whether it be while he was wrestling, whether he was eating dinner or just a general conversation, he expected to be respected the way he respected you. Because Harley would treat with, he wasn't a yes sir, no sir guy, but Harley was kind to everybody.
Everybody, and respectful to everybody.
Yes.
That's what guys really loved about Harley. But on that, don't tell anybody. I remember a story just like that. Where I almost had to eat shit, if you know what I mean. I got an offer from Jim Barnett to go to Australia. I'm still in school. I'm so happy. I go, I'm friends with football players, wrestlers, baseball. So I go to the athletic dormitory. I said, hey guys, I just got a deal to go to Australia. You know, they're going to pay me great money at the time. It was $500 a week, which, you know, back in 1970, that was super
Big
money.
money.
I said, I'm going to Australia. I don't know how long I'm staying, so great seeing you guys. Good luck to you. Man, they're all slapping me on the back. I go home about 2 days later. I get a call from Jim Barnett trying to take the contract away from me. Well, Gerald, all I can offer you is $300 a week. Trying to get me. Oh, I can't go over that. I done committed myself to all my friends. There was no way I was going to go back to that athletic norm and tell them, hey, man, I just got a demotion. I can't go now, you know. I said, Jim, whatever you can pay me, pay me. And so that's what Harley taught you a valuable lesson.
He was saving me from that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, exactly.
So was OVW your first stop? Was that when OVW was running?
Jim, I never made it to OVW. I never went to developmental. I literally went from independence to debuting on Raw. My tag team partner at the time, Lance Cade, was already in the system, and him and another wrestler, Kevin Fertig, I think you might remember Mordecai.
Right.
Yeah.
They came up with the cowboy and the trucker gimmick. Well, in between that time, Kevin had gotten into an argument. Now he was a different man back then. Gotten into an argument with a gentleman, grabbed him by his ears, and proceeded to headbutt his nose flat. Well, as you guys know, that's not a great PR situation for the company. So the idea, Vince and I guess the writing crew still liked the idea, but wasn't a fan of Kevin in that position. Well, while that's going on, I come in, do my tryout, do all that, and Johnny realizes, wow, Trevor and Lance might be a perfect fit. And I got brought in, supposed to be just for 2 shows, just to see how we looked. On the second show, we come in the back and Johnny, you know, asked Lance straight up. He goes, listen, if you had to pick a tag partner, who would you rather have, Trevor or Kevin? And Lance, you know, I was assuming Lance, they're buddies. I was assuming Lance would speak up and go, oh, me and Kevin. And he was honest. He goes, no, I got more chemistry with Trevor. I think we'd be a great tag team. Johnny goes, all right, you boys are on the road next week. And I'm supposed to go to OVW. I'm still, my stuff is packed up and I'm supposed to be moving. And Johnny's just walking away. And I go, Johnny, do I still need to move to Louisville? And he goes, kid, you just made the main roster. Don't worry about it. I fucking walked away. And so I've literally been in the same home I bought when with my WWE money ever since. I never went through developmental. I was literally doing a show for Harley on Friday, debuting on that Monday in Oklahoma.
That wasn't a bad thing to have to unpack for that, was it?
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. But I looking back on my career, there is a part of me that wish I would have went to OVW. For many reasons. One, obviously because there's a lot of talented guys down there and I could learn some amazing stuff. But I had no idea about the WWE system.
Right.
Yeah, I did some TNA stuff, but you guys know their TV at that time was completely different than what WWE runs. So I walk in and I'm in a coliseum.
Oh,
I'm seeing
it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming to anybody.
Guys
I walk in. I was the same way, Trevor. Wow,
yeah, me too.
What is this?
And I had no clue. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know if I had an idea, can I present it? If I can present it, who do I present it to?
Right.
And I'm really leaning on Lance as, hey, man, can you just help me figure my way through this? And to a certain extent, I was at a disadvantage because I didn't know how to talk to writers.
And Lance is a young guy at that time too, just getting into the system.
Yeah, but he had at least been in the system of OVW and
exactly.
seen and been, I guess, seasoned by other guys on how to operate and move within the system. Yeah. I would go up to Brian Gerwitz with this idea, and he would just look at me with this deadpan look of like, okay, I'll work on it, and then nothing would ever happen. And I didn't know how to communicate with those guys to get at the very least, an idea over. Yeah. The other thing too was, guys, where I screwed up, and I have no problems. I didn't create a relationship with Vince. I had the mindset of, well, you hired me, you're paying me thousands upon thousands of dollars. You know I'm here. We should at least talk. And I never made that effort. I'd go up and say hi to him. But you guys know the gimmick. You've got to. That's the
You have
boss.
a
You've got to
relationship.
create. You have to have a relationship
You
with the
have to
boss.
have one. That's what
Yeah,
I
it's the
tell
audience of
everybody I
one, as they
recruited.
always
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
That is right there. And I tried to make everybody else happy who didn't, and we were all listening to the other guy, to Vince. So I
Right.
should have just cut that out and went straight to Vince. But in the same sense, I felt like there was a chain of command and there's a proper way of doing things. It's the way I was brought up.
That's Harley old school thinking there. That's what it was.
Well, and that's what I lived by while I was up there. I was like, go do my, if they asked me to do a job, go do my job and make it the best possible. Even though I disagree with it, even though it's going to make me look like an idiot, that paycheck, you can't compete with that paycheck. And that's what Harley always brought it to. He goes, Trevor, are they paying you well? Yes, sir. Remember, I came in as the king. I said, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well,
No,
what
that's
do you think? What do you think, Trevor, that made your chemistry with Lance Lance Cade click so well? Because Lance was a hell of a worker, a young man in the business too at the time. What you guys' chemistry was awesome. And as John can say, having a tag team partner, it all don't work out like that. There's always little flaws, little nicks in the armor, so to speak. But you and Lance just seem to have that smoothness at becoming the partners.
I contribute that to two things. Number one, with him being trained by Shawn Michaels, Harley and Shawn, even though Shawn was the next generation, Harley and Shawn, their generations overlapped. So Shawn still had that basic idea of what pro wrestling should be. You know, the psychology of pro wrestling,
Right.
the storytelling
Okay.
telling of pro wrestling. So Lance and I got along in that aspect because of our psychology and the way we looked at pro wrestling were very similar. The other thing too is Lance and I were straight up honest. After our second match, and Johnny said, "Hey, listen, we're going to put you guys on the road as a tag team." We got in the car, headed to the hotel. We just laid it all out. Listen, we understand that they don't focus on tag teams here. They don't keep tag teams here for a long period of time. So at the very least, let's be honest with each other. Even if we won't like the information, at least I know I can trust you here, and you can trust me. And once we built that that standard, everything was easy after that with Lance and I. The other thing too is like when we would get off the road, because Lance had Sean's school in San Antonio and I had Harley's school in Missouri, we would literally call each other if we had an idea of a spot. I would be at the school in the ring with a student. Lance would be on the phone with a student in San Antonio, and we would work the spot out while we were on the phone just so we could take it to TV that next week. And my wife would get hot because she's like, "You just left him. You just left him for 5 days. What do you two possibly have to talk about?" And I'd say, "Next week. We got to go to work next week. We're wrestling prime time next week. So we gotta have our shit together." And that's Lance and I were always, all right, work first. Let's get this knocked out and then we go play.
You know, it's such an interesting thing. I never thought about that before. Developmental. You know, you had training that was at least equal to not better than anybody who went through OVW, through the dojo and through Harley Race. But you brought up the fact you didn't know how to deal with the writers, which I never thought about that. You know, when you come from independence like now, it really helps these kids to go through, say, NXT because it helps you deal with the system, not just learn how to wrestle, but learn how to deal with the system. I'd never thought about that before. About the system was so hard to deal with because back when Mr. Brisco and I came in, it was more similar. It was still overwhelming. WWE was incredibly overwhelming, but we kind of had the same type system through the territories. Now you don't have that. That's a pretty cool thought that it teaches people how to deal with a system that they need to be in to be successful.
That's one of the reasons why I wanted to be there. I had no clue. And I'm working for the biggest company in the world, my biggest opportunity in the world. And they're asking me to do something that I've never done before. I was never a heel. And I get up there and they're like, "Trevor, we're going to make you a heel with Lance Cade." And I'm freaking out. I'm like, I've got my biggest opportunity. And now they're asking me to do the one damn thing that I have the least amount of experience in. So I call Harley and I go, "Harley," I go, "they're wanting me to be a heel. And I don't know what to do." And he goes, there's this long pause. And he goes, "As a babyface, do you know what you want the heel to do to you?" And I said, "Well, yes, sir." I was like, "I could do that all day long, eyes closed." And he goes, then just do that. and I'm like, I'm waiting for this long, intricate information that's going to make me believe in myself. And I get, then do just that. But it made me think.
That's believing in yourself.
Yeah. And once he flipped that idea, like that idealism in my head, like I knew what to do. I just didn't know how to access it in my brain. And once he put it in there, like, okay.
And it really is. And I can understand what Harley was saying 100%. And it's 100% correct. But it is a different mindset. It's a complete different mindset when you're calling a match from a heel perspective or when you're listening as a babyface. It's a complete different mindset. You know what you want the babyface to do, but all of a sudden you're the babyface. It's different. It's,
yes.
You got you know where you want your feet, but you're like your dance partner. You're trying to wait a minute. I got to move. I got to be in their spot.
You got to switch roles.
It's whether I move backwards a step or move forward a step, and it sounds so simple, but the thought process doesn't make it simple.
What helped me with be able to do that was Harley was big on calling it in the ring. Like on his shows, he didn't come out and say, "I want you to call it in the ring." But he would walk by and, be smoking a cigarette. And I never called anything in a match. And so that tells you right there, you're like, all right, I could do this. Harley did it. I could do it. And you go out there. And, of course, you have your clusterfuck matches. And you realize that you can't do it. But you just continue to keep practicing and practicing. Yeah. And what helped me is when the guys would fuck up. When things happen inevitably in a match, things mess up, guys would freak out. And I would not. I would just, all right, well, we're not going to do that again. And we'd move on. What I didn't realize was Harley was getting me comfortable in uncomfortable.
Vince always said it's live TV. What can possibly go wrong? And obviously he's joking, but what he's saying is we got pros out there. There nothing's going to go wrong. They can't get over. You stick a Shawn Michaels out there, you stick a Harley Race out there. I don't care what happens. Anything can go wrong. They're going to figure a way out of it. And that's what Vince was talking about. And once you have that confidence, you feel perfectly fine out there.
Well, and that's when I got to WWE. When we were talking about matches, I was telling guys, I was like, we'll just call this part out there. And they're like, no, I don't feel comfortable doing that, Trevor. And I'm like, guys, that's where the magic is. That's where the golden nuggets, that's where they get found, is this gets dropped in front of you because you weren't planning it, you weren't thinking it, and you run with it. Like, that's where the holy shit, I didn't know we could do that moments come. Right. I cannot plan that in the back. I can give you a start, I can give you a finish, and maybe something if it fits. But other than that, I want magic. I want emotion.
Yeah, I used to tell guys, like, I'd find out what they want to do as a baby face, and I said, okay, we're happy to do that. And they go, what are you going to do in the heat? I go, well, I don't know. I'll just call that out there. They go, what are you going to do? Get heat? I don't know. I'm going to get heat. I don't know I have no idea what I'm going to do.
But that
separates the top guys from the bottom when you have that feel, though, because let's face it, a lot of guys who are in the ring really don't have that feel at that time. And when you got it, that's what separates the guys, I think, from the levels.
I totally agree. And you can see how comfortable they are in the ring. That's in my opinion, where I see a pros when things mess up, and then I see how the guy reacts. The whole, oh shit, and then they go to do it again, and you're just shaking your head going, God damn, son.
That's right.
And then you flash back a Harley Race Jack Brisco or Harley Race Dory Funk or Terry Funk, our Broadway, without nothing planned, and go out there and have a 5-star match, and everything just so smooth. There's no footfalls in the match there.
And have you ever noticed?
That's all from the feel right there.
When you're watching those guys, you don't ever see fuck ups. You don't see. There's nothing that you can point out and go, oh,
even though they're there, even though they are there. But
I'm sure they are. But from a fan standpoint, like I don't remember a match of Harley's that I've watched where I was able to go to him and be like, so did you fuck that up?
Like, did you forget that spot?
Did you forget that there is nothing? And I'm sure it happened, but because they were so good, they just moved on to the next one. No sold it, moved on.
So I watched a 45-minute match last night with Antone and Oki and my brother that I hadn't seen, and they had 45 minutes. And holy, John, did I send that to you last night?
No,
sent
I've seen it
I
before
sent
with
it to,
Inoki, right?
yeah, I sent it to
Oh,
Jody Simon last night.
unbelievable match,
And man, for
brother.
45 minutes. But you know, Ben, now that I'm looking at it, I could kind of see where there was a little mess, and there was no communication. I mean, Inoki could speak English, but he wasn't that fluent in English, and Jack certainly couldn't speak Japanese. So Jack was probably flew over that night, had that 45-minute match without any preparation. But you know, as experience, you could see it. But those guys never reacted to a fuck up. You know, it was just next, go on.
Trevor, I don't want to jump way ahead, but something about the calling a match. You know, like nowadays, there's not any really many live events. You know, that you have with, like, say, WWE. So producers are now more important than ever because you don't have guys that have, you know, before, you know how it was. You'd have a match, a pay-per-view with somebody. You might have 20 or 30 matches leading up to that. So you know what you can do with them. You know what you can't do with them. It's easier to call it out there because you've worked with them so many freaking times. In the product, it's easy to go out there and just ad lib and call it. Nowadays, they don't have that. They may not have ever even worked with this person. So the producer is so important to put this match together because they don't have the background of knowledge and the background also of working with this person a bunch. When you're out there now, how has that changed for you? I mean, is that dynamic? Is it hard to do? Because I've been out there sometimes. You know, when I go out there recently, I'm like one of the old guys. I have a hard time remembering stuff. Not because of concussions or anything else, but I'm not used to it.
You're
I never
100%.
did it. I always did stuff on the fly. So when you say, "Hey, we're going to do this," I'm going, "Huh?" Is that tough for you?
No, it is tough for me. And that's where, like, I tend to lean more into the storytelling. You know, nowadays guys think storytelling is just hitting the moves in succession or a guy blocking something. And for me, I like to break down a match, especially if I haven't worked with a guy, and figure out what kind of emotional reaction can we get out of this people. We ain't got to do your spot where you duck my elbow, hit me with the crossbody, kick out, feet up, drop. We ain't got to do all that. And some guys get upset, like John, and I'm sure you've talked to some guys and been like, "We're not doing that because that doesn't make any sense." And
Oh
you
yeah.
could,
A lot of times they just look at you like, "Oh, you're the old guy. You just don't want to do it for that." I go, "No,
you're
because I don't
they
even."
think, yeah, no, well, they think you're lazy or you don't want to. And I'm like, no, I was you 15 to 20 years ago. I know exactly how you're feeling. Now you need to be me, the old guy, going, we're going to go out and emotionally connect with these people. We're going to get a reaction. It's called selling. It's called working the people. And then when we come in the back, if you're not happy with what we've done, tell me and we'll talk about it. And 99% of the time, they get reactions that they've never had with me because they don't know how to, they're not thinking. They're just reacting. What's Trevor doing? Boom, boom. Sell, motherfucker. Wham. And they're reacting in the moment. They have no choice but to react. And when that happens, they tend to see, like, the emotion from the people and we come in the back and now they're easy. Okay, Trevor, I want to work with you now because now I understand.
Right, right.
I'm sure the
I
same
was
guy.
not in a match, but I came to the end of a match, close on somebody or something like that. And when I was there, I was going to do something at the end to kind of, put the guy over. And he said, "Hey," and he thought I forgot the spot or something. And I said, "No, no." And I told him, under my breath, just stand there until they start to settle down because the people were starting to pop. And it stood there like he had to feel like we stood there for 3 hours, But it was when we got done, he goes, "I'd never done anything like that." He goes, "That was so cool." And I said,
That's
"That's
because you
called work.
saw
That's
it.
called working. Not that I'm good at it.
Yeah.
I was right
But you
then."
saw it though. You felt it. You didn't in the back, John, you didn't know that was gonna happen. You
Had
didn't
no
know that.
idea. No, yeah.
No, sir. But you were smart enough to see it and go, that's a golden nugget, kid. Just fucking listen and do what I ask you and I'll get you over.
Right.
And once that happens, then you start seeing the light bulb go off in some of these guys' heads. And it's
That's
not
right,
their
because it
fault.
did with me with old guys too. And all of a sudden you think, "Oh God, I got it."
It,
That was what that was.
and it makes you feel almost stupid at times. Like that was Harley was notorious for giving me answers and making me feel like the biggest idiot.
Oh, because when you get the answer and it's so simple, you're like, "Oh, did I really just ask that question?"
There were many times I walked away from Harley, yes, sir, with my head down because I was like, man, I'm an idiot. Why didn't I think about it like that? Like, I'm trying to get over with this guy. Jesus Christ, I'm putting my foot in my mouth every time I talk to him.
Trevor, it's called experience, and Harley certainly had the experience level.
Well, to the day he passed, I was doing everything I can to gain his respect and to be a representative of him, and to be. I wanted to be me, but I also wanted people to look at me and go, that guy is part of a yesteryear of a different time when guys were tough guys, real wrestlers.
Speaking of respect and moving on, let's jump to your NWA days. And
Hey Jerry, right before we do, hey Jerry, if you don't mind, Jerry, right before we do,
please.
Yeah, I just want to cover one quick thing with WWE. You guys were 3-time tag team champions, right? You and Lance both.
Yes, sir.
So tell me right quick, and I want to jump to NWA too because I want to talk about Billy Corgan and what you're doing because I think it's so cool. It's the one title out there that everybody knows. You wish you had done anything. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. But with the first championship, when you get that, tell me a little about that because that has to be a cool moment.
It was a great moment, and it ruined me for WWE. For the simple fact is, I was there for 6 weeks, and vignettes every week, sliding into wrestling Rosie and Hurricane, beating them every week to winning the WWE World Tag Team titles. I thought, holy shit, my career is going up. I've only been here 6 weeks. I was stoked. I was excited. The part that I will always remember was I came home. You guys know the gimmick: do Raw on Monday, fly home on Tuesday, and I go to the school and I walk into Harley's office with the WWE World Tag Team title.
Did you carry it with you?
Yes, sir, I did. I laid it on his table, and I said, "Sir, you were right. The cream does rise to the top." And he got up and he gave me a hug, and I was tearing up a little bit because nobody ever believed in me the way that man did. I'm talking from the beginning of my idea of being a wrestler to me going to Harley's school, people still doubted me. To even when I was going to Japan, people were like, that's the highest that guy's ever going to get. So it really meant a lot to me, and I get a little emotional talking about it, to be able to come in there and be the first, to be your guy. I'm your first guy that's come in here and laid down. I know this is a Mark's piece, and I know the gimmick, but it's what it represents.
It doesn't matter. It represents you being the top guy. I don't give a.
It represents you working your ass off.
It's not a token. I mean, it's a symbol of something.
And he didn't say anything. He got up and gave me a hug, and I remember tearing up. And his wife BJ, who was a sweetheart, come in and wrapped her arms around me, and Harley telling me, just keep working, kid. Don't let off the gas pedal now.
Yeah, that's cool. That's great. That's what I figured. It's just something. These guys that break you in. You have such a respect for them, like you do. When you're a very respectful person, like you are, you want to do something to get their acceptance and get their acknowledgement and get their nod. That well done.
Every day I knew I had it, but I never felt like I earned it. Does that make any sense? Like, no, Harley 100%.
Race. I've been there. I was there myself. Every bit of it. Every what you're going through. It's just it's cool. It's cool to have those memories. That you have in your life that you look back on. That was a great moment.
On one shoulder, you deserve it. On the other shoulder, there's that guy. What are you doing? I mean, what are you doing in that position?
Well, especially when I'm constantly comparing myself to Harley Race. I want to walk in his shoes. I want to do how he did it. We used to, Harley, and as you guys know, Harley's notorious for those 1-hour matches. So of course, as a young guy in his school, we wanted to have the 1-hour match. And the most we could ever do was we got 45. Now we would always do it in front of a live audience, at the shows. The farthest I ever got was I did a 45-minute tag match. And the only reason why we got to the 45 minutes because we knew the people were dead. Like we probably should have took it home 15 minutes beforehand, but they were just done. And we got in the back and we're all just sucking wind, and Harley just walks by. 45 minutes, huh? I'm just
I'm just getting warmed up at 45 minutes.
Yeah. And to us, we're all sitting on the floor, leaned up against the concrete wall. But of course he's the man, and we all wanted to be the man.
Yeah. Hey, before we go on to like the NWA, I want to talk to you about but Lance Cade, what a talented young guy,
Oh,
and what a good guy. I mean, he had a great
man.
body, great worker. I mean, you guys were a great tag team, and Lance, what a good guy Lance was.
He was what, in my opinion, if you had to build a wrestler, he was it. Like
I'd agree with that.
he had size, he had a good look, he could wrestle anybody, moved to like a cruiserweight when he needed to, but also would lay the wood and lay it in. Not, you guys know the gimmick, make it believable. He psychology wise, he was on point with everything. He could talk. But he was in a similar sense, he was just like me. We were part of a tag team, and you guys know the tag teams weren't focused on, and we
Right.
were in a timeline where tag teams were almost non-existent if you look back at that. So we're constantly fighting for opportunities, trying to get to WrestleMania just to be shown. And Lance, don't get me wrong, he'd get fired up, but he was so hungry for that spotlight, and it was inspirational at times because he's like, we just, fuck what these guys think. Let's just go do what we can do. And that was a great for a guy, especially coming into a company like that. I was so lucky to have somebody like that.
Right.
Not to mention, we had very similar lives. Both had young children, both recently married, both, knew that this tag team was eventually going to get split up, not because of us, but because of the way the business is.
The system.
It's a system, yes. So the fact that we were always honest with each other, like he was my brother. There was where they would, we'd hear jokes and like, where you see Murdoch, don't worry, Cade's not too far behind, and vice versa. And if you guys remember back in the day, Hunter and DX, Billy Gunn and Road Dogg were at odds at one point in their lives. And we did a show, and Hunter was still working, and Hunter had got the heads up that Billy and Road Dogg were doing an autograph signing in that town, and had made comments that when Hunter comes out to wrestle at the live event, they were going to jump the rail. We don't know anything about this, but Hunter comes up and is explaining this to us, and he starts off with, "Hey, you guys watching my match tonight?" And of course we're young. Of course, Hunter
Well,
will
of
watch
course.
it
Yeah,
tonight.
yeah,
Ah, fuck, I mean, shit, we're there. He goes, all right, quit kissing my ass. Just, and he explained the situation, and he goes, if you see either one of those guys, if they're making their way down, get out there and do what you boys do. You have full permission for me to go out and handle business. And so we're watching this and we're thinking like, oh shit, this is amazing. Like Hunter, like he's gonna be the man coming up to us, and we're his, hitmen. But then we start talking about it, and we're like, well, wait a minute, like Billy Gunn and Road Dogg, they're OGs. Like they know how to fight. Like they're not the new generation guys. Like they know how to throw down. So now we're like, all right, well, this one's gonna get bloody if this happens, And thankfully, those guys didn't show up. But it really said something to Lance and I that we had this image or this persona of those guys are a team, they're a tag team. Don't be dicks to them. Be nice. They'll be nice to you, and we loved that. I actually thrived on having that reputation, because at the very least I was carving out a spot somewhere in this company.
right.
And Vince being a man of men that loves men. And now when I say loves men, someone's gonna clickbait that.
Someone's
shit.
gonna click that. Yeah,
Of
yeah,
Yeah,
Of course.
he likes a man to man.
yeah.
We assumed that, all right, like this will help get us.
I said one day on a podcast, I was talking about Murdoch, and I'm not even going to say it because somebody will clip it. I go, yeah, I love, and I said his first name. I go, I love, and I said his first name. And when I said it, I go, oh my God, somebody's going to clip that. I go,
Yes, sir.
oh my God. As soon as I said it, I was like, oh, Jesus. I
Yep.
can't get out of this.
But it's it was actually, that's, I think eventually towards the end, that kind of stuff is what gained us a little bit of favor from Vince. I got into a fist fight in Belfast, Ireland, while we were on tour. And you guys know as well as I do, fighting on tour is not a good thing. It was accepted back in the day, but when I was there, it was not. Randy Orton was the world champion at the time. The end of the tour, the third day, there was 3 days left of the tour. He had gotten hurt, couldn't even bend over to tie his own shoes. He was having the trainer tie up his boots, and then they were hiding him in six-mans for the rest of the tour. Um, at the end of the tour, you know the gimmick. You go to the hotel lobby bar, you drink till you're shit-faced. The flight's leaving in 2 hours. You get on the plane, pass out, and fly home, and forget about the flight. I'm sitting with Lance. Randy is to my left. Arn Anderson is to the right. And me, Lance, and Randy are basically, we're just three kids asking Arn Anderson every question we can. Like, Arn's drinking. He's in a great mood. What about this match? What about that match? And we're just being marks, right? Fan comes up and asks Randy for an autograph. And at that time, Randy was a bit volatile. We all take a deep breath, like, this is where the evening gets ruined. And Randy grabs the guy's paper, signs it, hands it back to him, and we all collectively go, that was nice. And the guy screwed up and he goes, can you sign this too? and Randy, nice, respectfully goes, hey man, I'm just trying to hang out with my friends. I've already signed something for you. Please leave me alone. And this guy, drunk Irishman, proceeds to crash out on Randy.
That's redundant, by the way, drunk Irishman.
Yes. But he starts crashing out on Randy. I pay your salary. You're supposed to do this. You're supposed to do that. Just really making a scene. Randy stands up on the chair, yells at security, hey, this guy's trying to grab my dick. He's trying to grab my balls. You need to come get him. Security comes, gets him, takes him out of the bar. We continue on with our evening. About 35 minutes later, 40 minutes later, the same guy comes back in. Nice. Hey, Randy, will you sign this? Randy again goes, hey, man, I've already signed something for you. Please leave me alone. This guy proceeds to crash out again. Who do you think you are, being loud and obnoxious? Randy stands up on the chair. Hey, security. He grabbed my dick. He got a handful. They yank him out and tell us that he is gone from the building. What we don't know is that guy is a part of an Irish wedding reception that is staying at the hotel. So as they close down the bar, we're leaving. Lance and Layla, we're in a straight line. Lance and Layla's up front. Randy's in the middle, and I'm following behind Randy. And the old boy that was supposed to be gotten kicked out was hiding behind the front desk while our security was macking on some chicks, because they weren't paying attention. Well, this old boy come running out from behind the front desk, and he's got his arm cocked back. And Randy had just caught him out of the corner of his eye. And he goes, Trevor. And I'm drunker than Cooter Brown, boys. I just whack. That's the world champion. You know what I mean? That's the top guy. Smoke him, knock him down. His buddy starts walking towards me, and he's taking his jacket off, which gave me my perfect opportunity. Wham! Knocked him down. What I don't know is that all the reception, the wedding reception, has now put me in a half moon of men, and they're all taking their jackets off. And I'm going, oh, shit, like, this is going to be bad. Yeah. And while this is going on, my partner has turned around and saw what's going on, and he has turned into an NFL linebacker, and he is running, lowers his head, and blasts through from behind these two guys, and it's like slow motion. They're just kind of flying in the air. Boom. Lance grabs me, yanks me through the hole, and we're running to the elevator. And like a movie, gentlemen, all these people are running at us, and the elevator goes. And we sit back, and we're like, oh, man, that was a close one. So we go up to our room. We're talking. And there's only one road to the hotel. Ambulance is coming. Cops' cars are coming. More ambulances. And me and Lance being an idiot, surely that's not for us. Well, about 15 minutes later, I get a call from Arn Anderson, who is awake and pissed off. Boys, you need to get down here. And like idiots, and we start pretending like we're sleepy. Arn, what are you talking about? What's going on? You boys are getting arrested. And we come downstairs, and what we don't know is the first guy that I laid out is starting to get back up on all four, and our security guard, now realizing what happened, runs and pumps this guy in the face. Clear out, breaks his jaw, messes him up. We come downstairs. They have a paddy wagon for Lance. They have a paddy wagon for me and a paddy wagon for the security guard because we're all too big to sit next to each other in their cop cars. We go down to the jail. We walk into a room, and all the cops start taking pictures with us, offering us coffee. They're marks, they're fans, and they're apologizing to us. We get through the paperwork. We get back to the hotel just in time. All the boys are loading up on the bus to fly home. You guys know the commercial gimmick. You know what I mean? Get on, be gone for 13, 14 hours. Lance and I are completely sober, and we're now realizing we're going to get back to the States, and Vince is going to take our tag belts, and he's going to fire us. And for about 6 hours, we're trying to figure out, like, we're trying to be rational. But that seventh hour hits, we get mad. We're like, fuck it. Like, we were defending the world champ. Vince wants these belts. He's going to have to come to our house and get them. Nope, we're going to make him work for it.
I've been there where you talk yourself into being mad like that. I've been in the same place. Yeah.
I'm going to get him. No, he ain't going to do this to me. He ain't going to do me like this. We get to TV, and no one's talking to us. Like, they're treating us like the plague. And we're like, oh, this ain't good. And for about 4 hours, we're like, this ain't good. And then that fifth hour hit, we got mad. We're like, you know what? We're not going to wait around to get fired. Like, we're not that big of a dumb shit. So we tracked down Vince. Oh. And you guys know how hard it is to get Vince by himself. But we were able to catch him down by the ring. And we just went up and go, Vince, this is what happened. And, like, he pulls, the glasses are down on the nose. He's got the script in his hand, and he's listening. And we're laying it all out. And then there's just complete silence. And we're like, oh, shit. Like, it felt like hours, but it was probably only 30 seconds. And Vince goes, oh, you know what, boys? It's good for the fans to get their asses kicked every once in a while. You never know, boys. If I'd have been there, I might have done worse. Don't worry about it. I'll have the lawyers take care of it. And just walked away. And me and Lance are like, oh, all right, cool.
You're mad and ready for a fight. And all of a sudden he agrees with you. You're like, wait a minute. Where'd you go? Yeah.
100% totally took all this. Like, we were holding hands, skipping away, going, oh shit, we still got our jobs. Yes, sir. But we were ready to take the belts home, and we like, you want them, come get them.
Come and get them. Yeah.
Yes,
that's
sir.
So like Vince. So Vince won't say a word while you're stating your case. And then he gives you that pause.
There's always that pause there. It's always, I tell people that pause is coming. It's uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable when he sits there because he's thinking everything through, and you're like sitting there. Do I say something else? Do I not? Yeah. Well, and I always tell people, don't say anything else. He's going to talk in a minute, and it's going to be okay.
And we didn't. We just sat there like, please, God, don't fire us. Please. I need this job. I need this job.
Yeah. JR told me one time, he goes, he fined me over something. He goes, I'd rather be fired than fined. I said, I wouldn't. I can't pay the fine if I'm fired.
Exactly.
That's not even a thought to me, JR.
My wife likes the house she lives in.
That's right. It's awesome. So I know we're getting a little long, but 2018, you retired. Well, I read it on the internet, so it must be true. And but you felt compelled to come out for the NWA. Tell me about that.
I was on the back. Harley's health was getting really bad, and I was taking less and less bookings because I wanted to be up at the school. I wanted to, I felt like I needed to get back to he's the man, and like there's things that he needed help with, and I felt like it was my responsibility to help. So I was spending more time going up to the school and spending time with Harley than I was wrestling. And I realized like I wasn't losing the love for it, but like my mentor was leaving. He was passing, it just felt like it was maybe the time to move on. Not to mention, I didn't feel like wrestling loved me. And a lot of that's because no one, it didn't matter how much I did. People never took me serious because of the way I looked. And I thought, man, this is a great way to like exit out of the business graciously. And then when Harley passed away, I knew nobody would ever fault me for saying, listen, my mentor's gone. I've done my full circle. What I didn't know was that NWA had sent Dave Lagana and Nick Aldis, who was NWA World Champion at the time, to Harley's funeral. And they were talking to me, asking me, what I was doing, and I explained to them the situation, and they said, we're going to start this new program called Power in Georgia. Come and do one show. And I was like, nope, I'm not in shape. I'm certainly not in shape to do TV. They said, well, just be an agent. We could really use your knowledge. You could help the boys. Just be an agent. And I said, okay. And I came, and I'm a wrestler just like anybody else. What's one wrestler's, the one rule for a wrestler when it comes to a show, even if you're not on it, bring your fucking gear, because you never know, right? Well, sure enough, I walk down into the GPB, and I run into Dave Lagana when I first get there, and he's like, hey, how you doing? And I was like, great. He goes, you got a match tonight. And I go, what? And he goes, you're wrestling Ricky Starks tonight. Okay. And I kind of felt like, all right, well, they brought me in. They've already lied to me. I haven't even put on my boots yet. They've already lied to me. And they're going to go out there and use me to get every guy in the company over. And I'm like, well, that's not how I want to end all of this. And I went out there and I had a match with Ricky Starks, and it went really well. I got a great reaction from the people. I come into the back, and Billy Corgan, Nick Aldis, and Dave Lagana were standing right there, and they're like, we already got you booked in another match tomorrow. Okay. And I just kept working, and I just never left.
Right.
And the one thing that concerned me about with Billy was because, all right, when you think of Billy Corgan, the first thing that pops in your head is Smashing Pumpkins, rock star, alternative, grunge. In our world, John, a little weird. You know what I mean? He just does not fit into our normal box. To go work for this guy, for the NWA, I was like, this is going to be a cluster. Like, this is going to be this is going to be bad. So when I got to work in there, I asked Billy, I was like, what do you want from me? Because you guys know the gimmick. Like, you brought me in for a reason. What's the box that you need me to be in? And Billy goes, I don't understand the question, Trevor. And I go, what do you see out of me? He goes, I just need Trevor. Go out there and be Trevor Murdoch. Just do what you do. Do what everybody else told you couldn't do. Go do. And at first it was a little bit alarming because I'm so used to everybody telling me what not to do, what to do. Don't do this move because such and such does it. Or where I was a little confused. But once I had that next match after that, I was like you said, John, it could do no wrong. I knew I was talented. I knew I had stories in my head that these guys didn't know how to do. I just had to go out and do them. I wrestled a match with Tom Latimer, the current NWA World Heavyweight Champion. I had wrestled him 2 times before, went over, and then Billy had me in a third match with him. And I really didn't understand the point, and I didn't know what story I could tell. And something popped in my head. I was like, what if I win with not one offensive move? Not a punch, not a kick, not an eye poke. Like, I literally not get one offensive move. Now, Tom's OG. He understood where I was.
Like that. I love that.
I went to Billy with the idea because I didn't want him watching this and going, what the hell's going on? So I laid it out to him, and there's just this look of confusion on his face. He's like, you're not even going to swing at him. I go, no, sir. I said, my second foot's going to touch the mat, and Tom is going to eat my lunch to the very end. And he goes, I don't know about that. I was like, if it's bad, I'll come back. I'll take full responsibility, and we'll never do it again. But you got to trust me on this, please. And he goes, okay. And we went out there, and as soon as my second foot hit the mat, Tom was on me. Wham, wham. So for 5 minutes, he is just, I don't even have I'm taking my gear off while I'm getting my ass kicked. But these people went through this ride of like, oh, Tom's a dick in the very beginning. He's beating up on me. And then he's still beating me up. But the people change, and it flips to sympathy. Now they're, Trevor, come on, fight back. And we ran through that, and then it switched again to them hating Tom. Tom, yeah, you son of a bitch, and blah, 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 blah. So at the very end, Tom shoots me into the corner. I just move, roll him up, 1, 2, 3, flop out to the floor, and the camera pans right to me, and I go, did I just win? Did I just win? And the place is going nuts. And it's that emotional connection of that ride.
Yeah,
and
I love match stories like that. That's so fun to me to watch that stuff.
Oh my gosh. And I got in the back, and Billy's eyes were this big, and he's smiling, and right there, I knew, like, I solidified my moment with him where he could trust me, because I was going out there to get over what he needed, but he didn't even know he needed it until he saw it.
Right. And also you talk about, the way you look, everybody's different. And, but Dusty Rhodes, Mr. Briscoe's told me many times, Mr. Briscoe couldn't get him booked when he was NWA champion because Fritz didn't want to use him because the way he looked, this is one of the greatest draws of all time. People have always had this, certain people had a certain mindset, but that doesn't affect people that draw money. People that draw money, there's no shape or model that you put them in. You look at people that draw money, they're all different. And
Well,
your old school, some of your guys who hadn't thought it through, think about that well, they got to look a certain way. No, they don't. They got to be able to get over. That's all they got to be able to do.
well, and now you've got guys in WWE that are on TV that aren't the cookie cutter,
That's right.
jacked up gorillas, and they're getting over and they're getting responses. I'm glad that finally somebody up top is realizing that, guys need to hit the independents and hit the territories and kind of go through the motions before they go there, because once they get there, they're way more seasoned, way more intelligent. In my opinion, they're ahead of the game. No offense to the NXT crew, but there's a certain type of hunger you have to go out and
Oh,
hit all these different independents and stand out nonetheless.
yeah.
Oh,
And not to mention, you're dealing with every independent you deal with is a different promoter.
Yeah.
So every independent's a different negotiation.
Yeah,
Which, if you're in a
philosophy.
system, you're not dealing with negotiations of different promoters. Every independent you deal with is different people you have to negotiate over matches, pay, travel. It's a real different experience.
well, and especially if you're somebody of any relevance that has a name, you have two promoters. Either that one promoter is a big mark and he wants to make you look like $1 million and be the star of the show, or he wants to bring you in to fucking put over his fucking guys that's
Right.
couldn't tie your boots.
That's right.
You know
Yeah.
what? But then I ask myself, like, I'm sure at times Harley, again, let's read back to was it George Goulas? He
Yeah.
walked into that and went like, Jesus Christ, all right,
No,
this is what I got to do.
So
yeah,
when you get to
we've
NWA,
all had our George Goulas moment. You know.
yes, we have. Oh my God! Oh my God! I put a guy over, and I don't want to say his name because he hadn't been trained, and a nephew of a legendary guy. And literally, George Steele told me, he said, "I want you to put him over." He was like, it's a favor for a local legend." I said, "No problem." He goes, "It's kind of like putting over one of the Von Erich kids, not the big three of David, Kerry, or Kevin." And I said, "I completely understand." And I tell the kid, I said, "How about just you put me in a small package at the end?" And he looked at me and I said, "You don't know how to do a small package, do you?" And he goes, "Well, I've never done that before." I'm like, "You got to be kidding me."
Wow.
The
So
things
literally,
that
yeah, oh yeah, we've
Wrestling
all been there.
101, I don't know how to do it.
Yeah,
Jesus.
we've all been there. I hooked his leg with my leg, hooked his head to put and literally rolled myself into it and beat myself.
So Trevor, coming full circle, kind of relive the moment when I, whether it's Billy or Dave, whoever come up to you and said, Trevor, we're going to put the world title on you.
Um, we were the COVID had hit, and basically everybody I don't know how to put this respectfully. COVID hit, everybody started looking for greener pastures, and we lost several of our top stars in NWA. And so they started, Nick was looking for an opponent to drop the title to, but he didn't quite feel like, and I think Billy felt this way too. Like they hadn't built anybody yet to really carry that world title. And then I'm assuming my name came across their path, and they started putting it together. He's a Harley Race guy. He's worked hard to try to be a top guy. NWA storyline wise, it just fit. And they never told me until the day of that this was
Wow.
actually this is where we're leading to, Trevor. But they never said, Trevor, at the chase at 73, you're going over, and the first main event in 37 years. I was still, they were still keeping me on that edge. And it wasn't a bad edge, but, it would have been nice to know. But once, it got real to me once I knew I was going to win once my name was called. I've been in the business long enough to know that you don't get excited about something until it actually happens. And I was not going to get myself all excited and jacked up about being NWA World Champion, about being Harley Race's World Champion, and them just take it out from under me. I was really trying to protect my emotional well-being, I guess, gentlemen, because it would have killed me if I'd have got to that
That's the
point.
last thing, and I'm with you on that. You don't ever prepare yourself for here's what's going to happen because it could change.
In an instant. But I knew once my music was hitting, I'm supposed to go up. Well, it's going to be real hard for old Nick. I like Nick, but Nick doesn't know what I know. I'm supposed to win, so when I'm gonna walk out of here as world champion, one way or another. I don't care if you guys change that shit in the middle of the match. This is what's happening. And thankfully, like, none of that ever came about. But to actually hear my name, I get a little emotional about it now because it just means the world to me. To hear my name as the new NWA World Heavyweight Champion in the chase. That morning, I walked the same hallways that Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, Harley Race would walk from the TV studio to the chase. I walked them, and then I looked down the aisle, and Ric Flair is carrying the NWA World Title, and he's bringing it to me, like to me, like the guy that nobody they didn't see was going to make it out of Fredericktown, Missouri. The guy that only got his shot at WWE because Harley Race. The only reason why the guy was world champion tech because there was nobody else. He was bringing it to me, man. And I stood there, and my wife and kids are watching me. My wife, who has been through this since the fucking beginning, like when I had shit, nothing, and she's got tears rolling down her eyes, knowing that she had been with me through all the ups and downs, and to be able to do that, ooh, man, I get fired up now. To be able to do that at the chase in front of all of my peers, the only thing that would have made it just absolutely perfect was if I could have seen Harley. And he could have sat there and watched that happen. I would have, I would give anything to lay that across his desk.
Right.
Because he deserved that. He deserved to know that the last 20 years of his life that he had dedicated to pro wrestling and trying to keep wrestling in the wrestling, that one of his guys made it. One of his guys hit the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
And I know he sees it, but shit, it sure would have been nice to give him a hug afterwards.
Yeah.
You know what's cool about that? You know, I look sometimes and you know, I'm still a kid that was watching wrestling with my grandfather, you know, through my eyes, you know, even though these eyes are 58 years old, they've seen a lot, but I'm still that kid with, you know, my grandfather watching Fritz von Erich, you know, and think, man, I held a title that Bruno Sammartino held, that Hulk Hogan held. You've got to look at the same way and go, I held a title that Lou Thesz, that Jack Briscoe, that Harley Race, that all these great NWA champions held. And that's sometimes we just sit around by yourself and go, that's pretty freaking cool.
My name's on the list, fellas. Like,
that's right. Your name and will always
forever,
be forever,
yeah.
forever. As long as that list is ever out there for people to find, your name's on that list.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You're still pretty young, you know, and I say that because you know back in the day, your age was an old man. Now it's a young man for the business. You know, it's just health has changed. The way people train and all that shit changes. You know, are you still enjoying working? I know you're working mainly with Billy Corgan at NWA. You're still enjoying working?
I still enjoy wrestling. I still enjoy being out there in front of the people. I notice, and John, you might notice too. Obviously, as we get older, it seems like the guys in the business aren't getting the information that they need. And it bothers me to a certain extent. There seems like a lot of guys don't understand respect. A lot of guys don't understand storytelling. It's the easiest thing. Like, that's the one question I get all the time. Well, how do you tell stories? They're easy. It's you're the bad guy. You're the good guy. Create a fucking scenario. Like, you just watch a movie and it'll tell you what to do. Like, it's not hard. I wish more guys had that that old school training of just thoughts and not thinking about it in the ring and thinking about what's happening. I think a lot of guys miss out on calling it in the ring. I don't, and I'm not saying go to a WWE event or a TNA event or an NWA event and go out there and just call it. But they need to be at the school. They need to be doing shows in front of people where they don't know what's going to happen. They're so concerned about, I don't know what's this. And you can see it. You can see the fear in their eyes. In my opinion, when you're out there, that's where I feel the most comfortable. That's where I'm in that ring. I'm at home.
You're home. That's your living room.
Yes, sir.
I've always felt the same way. When I'm out there, I'm at home. There's nothing I thought that could ever bother me in that ring because I can figure I can get out of anything.
But you guys also know what it's like to be in there with a guy who doesn't feel that way and how hard they make it on themselves and make it on you.
Yeah.
You look across the ring and you see that blank stare in their eyes.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's gonna be a battle.
That's right. That's right.
Well, and that's what
you try to tell them very calmly. Just listen to me.
Just relax and listen,
and we'll be fine.
And John, you work I wouldn't call it a stiffer style, but when you lay it in.
It was a stiffer style.
Oh, stop it.
But I tend to work a little bit towards that myself. Regal said it once. I hit people hard in safe places, across the back, across the chest. Now because I do that when I get into the ring with a lot of guys, I can tell they're scared because they have watched me work before and they're like, oh my God, this guy's going to come in here and brutalize me.
Yeah. And they think you're eating them up, which you're not. You're just working.
And to be honest with you, John, at times we're the most believable guys on the program. We're the guys that when they're going, well, I know wrestling's fake, but JBL was pissed. Did you see what he was doing? Did you see him clothesline that guy? Like, come on, man.
You're that Johnny Valentine philosophy at that time.
Yes. Guys like us, in my opinion, and I'm sure I'll be clickbaited on this one, guys like us make the business believable. Straight up. When people question whether or not what we're doing in there is real, they'll watch two guys go in there do flippity shit, and then you and I'll step in there, we ain't been against each other, but we step in there with another opponent. Inevitably, everybody's like, somebody's going to get their ass whooped tonight. We make pro wrestling real. And I think guys like us have to be on the show. Have to.
Yeah, I agree. I think some of the comments people say, you stiffed him or something. No, that's working. I can see you're actually mad. That's working.
Gotcha. I got you.
That's what we're supposed to do, right?
I got
right.
You. There you go. I got you.
Well, and I'll get, I tend to talk a lot of trash in the ring just because it helps me breathe. So I'm constantly cussing or talking shit about you. And while I'm doing it, I'll get guys, are you mad? Oh, motherfucker, just hit the corner. Just go. Like, quit being a mark. Quit believing.
Yeah. I had to tell Ron one time, I go, you're scaring these guys to death. And he goes, why? Because he's got that James Earl Jones voice, that deep voice. And he'd sit there and he would go over matches. He goes, now John's going to grab you and he's going to beat the shit out of you. Now I'm going to knock the hell out of you. And guys would look at him like, oh my God, he's going to kill me. He's going to like Ron. I said, Ron, you're scaring these guys to death. He goes, why? I go, never mind. Just do it.
I ain't gonna lie, Rod Simmons. I'm gonna knock the shit out of you here.
Actually, I've worked with him a lot of times. I know. Yeah.
No wonder you two are partners.
I called a football tackle one time. I said, duck the clothesline, hit me with a football tackle. And when he hit me, I said, if I ever call that again, ignore it. Do not do that. You've broken something inside of me. But I told Ron afterwards, I said, when I called football tackle, I meant like the working version.
Yeah, they're a little
Florida
bit
State version.
Right. Not the D1 version.
That's right. Well, Trevor, hey, thank you so much for joining us on the show. I was so excited that when Mr. Brisco told me we were going to have you on because I hadn't seen you freaking forever and talked to you.
Yes, sir.
Seen you, a couple places, but not much to talk. So
I got my picture with you while I held my world title.
That's right. And I told you at that time, that's the one title I'm very jealous of. I always have been.
Yes, sir. I'll be honest with you. If you got free time, I know there's a spot in NWA that would love to have you show up and beat the shit out of some folks.
I tell you what, that's the
one.
The
door is open for you.
That's the one thing that would get me out of the house and get me somewhere is that NWA title. Because that really is. That's the one prestigious thing. I thought, I wish I could have had that at one point, at least a chance at it.
Well, there's a tag team here that would love to support you in your efforts. If you know Knox and Murdoch here would love to support you in your efforts if you'd like to show up. As a matter of fact, this is a great lead into July 29th. NWA shows up on Roku, gentlemen. Make sure you guys watch it.
That's right. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you. The other cool thing is we've got the wrestling carnival. John, you guys might, in Japan they've got what they call a Samurai TV, where they play pro wrestling 24/7. Roku has picked up, and we have partnered up with WoW, and now we have the wrestling channel, the wrestling carnival, and it plays on Roku 24/7.
Wow.
So if fans want to watch old NWA matches from previous powers, they're even going to start putting maybe the older classics on there for some of the guys. But you can literally watch pro wrestling 24 hours if you wanted to.
That's
so
cool.
You guys get a chance.
That's cool. I love what Billy's doing.
Here's the thing, like he's realizing, like we get into this world of there's only WWE, there's only AEW, there's only TNA. There's a huge audience right down the middle that could care less about any of that shit. They just want to watch wrestling.
Yep.
And we tend to get wrapped up into their WWE fans or NW or TNA fans. No, they don't care. They don't get me wrong. They love WWE. They love TNA. They love AEW. They just want to watch wrestling. And that's where NWA is shooting their mark. We're not shooting for one lane. We want to shoot for everybody. And we've found out there's a huge audience that doesn't give a shit about the three letters on the front of the name. They just want to watch wrestling.
They want to watch good
They just
wrestling.
want to be entertained. They want to watch wrestling and be entertained.
Yes, sir. And I'm not digging on any other company. I certainly wouldn't want to put you guys in a position. I'm not burying or talking shit about any company. It's just there's a huge audience that we're missing out on, guys. And it's the average fan that just likes to watch people get beat up.
That's right. That's right. It's the oldest thing in the world.
It's good guy versus bad guy.
I tagged with Dick Murdoch, and Murdoch used to tell me all the time, because it's so simple. I call your sister name, you call my mama name, we fight. Because it's that simple. Dick, I heard Dick say that 100 times.
It get any easier than that either.
It's just very believable. I say something bad about you, you say something bad about me, we go fight.
It ain't that hard.
No, and people understand it.
That's the other thing, right? Jesus Christ, that statement right there. If the people need to understand it, if your shit's so intricate that you can't, like you're getting confused in the back, I don't recommend doing it.
Right.
Because if you can't understand it, neither can they.
Yep.
Exactly.
Oh, it's making trigonometry out of simple math, and people do that all the time.
Yes, sir.
It's not that hard. Well, hey, Trevor, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. It's so much fun to have you on, talk about your career, talk about, I really like you and Lance were great to be around. I loved Lance. It was kind of like a son, he looked like me and used my clothesline and everything else I did.
John, he was a good looking guy. Come on, he didn't look
correct.
Like
he was like a son if I'd have married like a really hot supermodel and took away
we wanted, and this is a little side note, John, like we wanted to be partnered up with you. But the fact of the matter is, we were on Raw at the time.
That's right.
And you were on SmackDown, and we could never.
I was willing to do it because I thought that this is a perfect thing to do, especially because Lance, we worked so much alike, and I thought this is the perfect thing to do.
Well, and then I was explaining to him, I was like, "Well, I'm the perfect antithesis of not what you and John aren't." And there's the end. There's where the split up happened at the end. There was just a lot of room for some really good business there that. Sadly enough, will never happen.
That's right. Yeah. Well, Trevor, we appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. It was such an honor to talk to you guys and hang out. I'll be honest with you. I've been a little bit jealous. You guys have been interviewing everybody else, and I'm going. If anybody fits this podcast, it's fucking Trevor Murdoch. I need to be on this.
It's fault.
Blaming Jim. Oh my goodness! Well, thank you, boys, for having me. For real.
Thank you so much, man. So much respect, and please handle that NWA with care. That's my love of my life as far as wrestling organizations go. So.